Hey everybody, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Tuesdays live, 7 p.m. PST. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna wait till a few people come in, you know what I'm saying, to acknowledge that they're watching. Come on in the chat, guys. Chat don't bite you. I love the communication. Like I tell everybody, the reason I started this live is to have some one-on-ones, some less formal conversations with you guys, and let's talk about some topics that may interest you. Today's topic: should you buy or build a house? Hey, I always thought about it myself. Is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? If you do the research, you'll find that you know it's not always cheaper to build a house, right? And so let's talk about that, okay? Because there's a lot going on. Housing prices are still up there, and there's a lot of trickery going on in the real estate world. When I snooped around a little bit and found out what was going on, um, so, you got to be careful out there. You might make a decision you regret when it comes to, a very big financial decision like your home, right? One of the biggest assets the average individual has is their home, right? Uh, so you want to make a wise decision on that. Okay, so but most people don't build their house. We know that in this country. So, um, but there are some pros and cons to each. Regardless of the decision you make, buying or building, there are some pros and cons to it, and we're going to dive right into that. Okay. Um, so one of the reasons why most people build their home, or that do build their home, they think it's cheaper, and it's but you got to consider the fact that you may want to customize that home, right? If you, yeah, the trade off is if you build your own home, you build it from the ground up. You can build it however you want it, right? And you build it from scratch, and you can customize it however you want it, right? But at the same time, those customizations can really skyrocket when it comes to material costs, and just the overall customization aspect of it can really make it more expensive than you expected, right? So versus buying. Okay, so let's see here. Is it cheaper? Is it cheaper to buy a house? Sometimes it is in California, right? Like in California, I'm talking about. That's where I am, and it also depends on the state where you are. Okay, as well. That will determine whether it's a wise decision or not. Okay, but at the end of the day, it comes down to your personal preference. If you want to customize a home to your exact, specs or desires, then you can do that when you build a house. Okay, so in California, because that's where I am, and most, let's face it, California, there's a lot of pluses about it, right? There's a lot of minuses as well, and we all, I mean, that's another video, but California, it's the weather's pretty much unbeatable, especially in the Southern California area compared to other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and that's why a lot of people, they covet this part of the country, okay, and that's why a lot of people move here from all over the world. So building a home here, that may be a reason, right? If you decide to build one, okay. Um, let's talk about costs. Let's talk about some numbers. The average cost to build a home in California is between $400,000 and $600,000, and that depends on a lot of things, right? Depends, like I said, depends on customization. It depends on the construction area and things like that. And it may take about a year, okay, 9 months to a year to actually build a home. And so there's a lot of things to take into consideration: the time and the cost, right? So let's do the numbers. I'll pull up some articles. And you know what's funny though? What I figured out is that the companies, right, that have these articles online about it, the ones that actually sell homes, they write articles about how it's better to buy a home than to build it. And the companies that build homes write articles about how it's better to build it than to buy it. So you just kind of, you got to jump back and forth and take the key takeaways from each one of them, because they all have an agenda, right? So if you're not doing that and you're just looking at one thing, then you may be steered in the wrong direction, right? So you got to be able to jump around and see, okay, this is what everybody's doing. It's a competition here, and you just pull from each one and say, okay, and then makes your decision from there. But it says the average cost to buy a home in where I am, and I'm just going to talk about mostly where I am, is about $202 per square foot. Okay, and what do you guys think is the highest labor cost? Not labor cost, but what is the highest cost out of that? Right? It's lumber, the framing lumber. Okay, I know a few years back, I think it was a couple years back, whatever, just out of the pandemic, they had the lumber crisis, where lumber prices just shot way up and all that. I don't know if they totally settled to where they used to be, but they're down some. But that's the highest cost, the framing lumber. Okay, the cost said it costs about $30,000. Okay, to frame a 2,000 square foot house, and I'm assuming that 2,000 square feet is the average size of a home out here. Okay, so yeah, that's the highest cost you got to take into consideration, right? Then you have the fact that inflation, even right now, material costs are going up, not to mention material costs, but labor costs, and then supply chain issues as well. I mean, I I run other businesses, and trying to get supplies from like different areas, it's a mess. It's been a mess ever since the pandemic ended, and it still hasn't quite healed itself yet. It's getting there. Things are getting to us faster, but it's still a mess right now. So you got to deal with that, and that contributes to the time it takes to even build your home. I mean, I'm sure they got people who probably started building their home back probably a year and a half ago, and it's still in the framing stage. I don't know, right? Because of these supply chain issues, right? And the fact that probably a lot of builders, because of the supply chain issues, probably went out of business trying to keep their doors open. So you have probably some homes just sitting there that are incomplete. So that's the risk you take when it comes to building your home, right? Versus buying. Um, okay, so home building financing options. If you're a vet, okay, I am a vet myself. You can get something like a VA construction loan, right? They have things out there to help vets. They also have construction, just general construction loans, like USDA construction loans to help you out. Um, but so but you got to think about permits as well, right? Land costs, the cost of land permits and all that stuff. Those things cost as well, and they're definitely going to increase the total cost of building a home, right? So yeah, it's a very interesting topic. When you do the research, you find out that in certain states that it may be more beneficial to build a home than to buy it, right? So let's look at some of those. Let's look at some of those. Chantel, hey Chantel, how you doing? Chantel Love in the house. Very good. Life Notes, how you doing? Chantel Love says, "Am I a contractor?" No, I'm not a general contractor. I've done some work, but I'm not a general contractor. I'm working on that. They both have good and bad. Perry Good Life Note says they both have good and bad. Absolutely. Lumber, cement, and copper. Yeah, the staples, right? Those things. Anytime there's high demand and there's low supply, or there's supply chain issues, meaning high demand and low supply, right? Even if it's a lot of it, but the supply chain issues is creating a low supply environment, price is going to go up. LA area costs per foot is closer to $450 per foot. Is that right, Perry Girl Life Notes? Commercial, $1,500 per square foot. My goodness, that's good, Chantel. I'm glad everything's good. Glad you're here. Check out the channel, and support Calibrate Tools DIY. By the way, guys, I gotta plug myself. Calibrate.com. Go check it out. We just got some gift sets online. So when I say online, I mean there's some nice gift sets, tool sets, tool bag sets. Go check them out. Well, they're not quite there yet, so let me back up. They should be online pretty soon, but they're coming up. But we got some nice products on there as well. Okay, I kind of jumped the gun there because I'm kind of excited about offering you guys, the gift sets that we have right now. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Where was I? Let's talk about some states. Okay. I don't know how accurate this is, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys right away. It says the 10 worst states for building, meaning the median price home costs are less than building a similar new home. Okay. All right. So it says Pennsylvania. Okay. Wow, almost $200,000 more to build a home than to buy one in Pennsylvania. Ohio is another one that's not good for building. Illinois, Maine, Iowa, okay, Missouri, Michigan, South Dakota. Okay, from the numbers that I'm looking at, it's at least over $130,000 more to build a home for each of these states I'm listing. So, unless you really got money like that, or you really want to build your dream home, you better stack away at least 150 grand, okay, in those states, right? West Virginia is another one, okay. Let's see here. The best ones to let's see. The best ones to build a home: Hawaii. Here's one. California. That's kind of iffy. It depends, right? Colorado, Utah, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, Montana, Florida, and Idaho. I would stash at least $100,000, 150 grand for those houses that I read in the other states that I listed. Like I said, okay, these states I just listed, it actually costs you less to build. So, yeah, once again, it all depends. It all depends. There's a lot of different factors when it comes to building your home. Okay, it's a matter of personal preference, and you got to take that into consideration, right? Let's see here. Where was I? Okay, let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's get more into the numbers here. Okay. All right, so let's see. Where was I? Kind of lost track of what I was trying to. Here it is. Let's talk about material costs. All right, flooring. That's one of the major material costs you're going to have to take into consideration. Drywall, siding, and lumber. Okay, and like I said, out of those four I just listed, and like I said before, lumber is the most expensive. Right? It's saying here that it can cost you $650 to $1,100 per board foot. That's just a metric when you're talking about lumber. When they say board feet, okay. Siding, that's the panels you put on the outside. That can cost you up to $50 per square foot. Drywall, that's not as expensive. You probably get $1 per sheet at most for that. And flooring is the third most expensive. It can go up to $32 per square foot. Okay. Then you got to think about the contractors. I'm talking about the building phase right now. Okay. You got to think about the contractors. Okay. They're going to charge at least up to 20%, right? In between 10 to 20%. Okay. And, they're going to hire they're going to hire they're going to hire subcontractors that they have to pay as well. Electricians, the architects, the floor installers, the plumbers, the HVAC guys, the carpenters, all that, the tile guys, and I guess they can, categorize them under floor installers. But yeah, all that comes into consideration when you're building a house. So expect to pay about 20% of the total cost to a contractor, right? Outside of material costs. Then you got painters, roofers, what do they say, brick masons, landscapers, all these things you have to take into consideration, guys. All right, so it is a great undertaking, and that's why it takes so long. Right? Not going to happen overnight. So let's break down some of those costs. Electrical costs could be around $7,500 to $1,200 just to install electrical, right? That's from the panels, everything, Then you got the roof. That's a big expense, depending, right? That depends on the type of roof material that you choose, right? They have different types of shingles. If you choose like a tile roof, or kind of the Spanish tile roofs, or just a simple asphalt roof, versus the different styles, it can cost you, right? So it depends. And also depends on the type of roof too. Like if you have those roofs that are real, the real steep slopes and stuff like that, and of course the square footage of your roof, the size of your roof, all of that can play a factor into how much your roofing costs will be. Okay, so pull your calculator out. Plumbing, right? Plumbing is another big one, right? Um, if you want the fancy toilets and faucets and all that stuff, the bathtubs, the different types of materials they have for that, I'm sure on the higher end, you have to spend for that, right? Average is about probably four grand. Okay, $4,000 to install plumbing, but it can be much higher than that depending on the type of fixtures that you put in there, right? So it's a dream until you got to shell the money out. Very Good Life Note says all those have below zero weather. You're talking about the those states? Yeah, right. Chantel says, I'm excited for you and your new product. Appreciate it, Chantel. One of the flagship products is the Exactac picture hanging tool, and takes all the hassles out of hanging pictures. So if you're an interior designer, you like to move stuff around every spring or something like that, you want to get the Exactac picture hanging tool, and that's a great picture hanging tool to have. And guess who created it? Yours truly, Calibrate Inc. Okay, so I appreciate that, Chantel. Thanks for the shout out. Okay, so back to our analysis. Let's see, where was I? Okay, then plumbing. Yeah, like I was talking about plumbing. Yeah, you're gonna have to install. I mean, plumbing doesn't just include like sinks and stuff. You're talking about washing machines. You're talking about dryers. You're talking about things like that. Okay, all that's part of the plumbing installation on a new home that you're building, right? So it's not just bathrooms; it's all that other stuff. Okay, HVAC, right? If you want central air or stuff like that, that can cost you on the high end up to $12,000 too. On the low end, maybe around $1,500 to put a brand new HVAC system in. All right. And once again, all that depends on the size of of the area that it has to cool, the size of your home. That will determine the price as well. Okay. Then they have the different brands of HVAC systems out there. Right. If you get on the higher end, I'm assuming it's not, it's no walk in the park when it comes to prices. Okay. So you gotta budget for that. If you want to stay, especially if you live in a hotter area, right? And I want to build a house in Southern California where it can get pretty hot. I want to build a house in Texas. I want to build a house even New Jersey in a northern area, right? In some of the northern areas, it gets pretty hot, right? So if you think about building and you're not thinking about some kind of HVAC system, then you're not thinking about the whole picture. Okay, you're not thinking about the whole picture here. So that's something to consider. And then, of course, there's the land, right? The land you got to purchase. You got to purchase the land, right? It says the average price per acre in California is about 40 grand, right? Says the cost of land depends on the size of the house you wish to build as well as the location. Okay, right. So then there's something called preparation costs. It says you need to clear the land. That's right. You get bulldozers in, clear those trees and all that stuff. That's a cost. That can cost you around $3,000 or so in California. Maybe some other states is cheaper, but saying here that can cost you around $3,000. Right. So it's all that stuff you gotta look at. Prep. It's not just okay, I'm gonna buy some land. No, you got to clear that stuff. That's gonna cost. And some of the it also depends on, I'm sure that it depends on what you got to clear, right? Because if it's real rough land, rough terrain, stuff like that, they can probably tack on all kinds of charges, right? Contractors can look at say, oh, that tree that can mess up our equipment, so we need to charge you a little more just in case that happens, versus a piece of land that doesn't really have too much on it, right? So, yeah. And of course, the big scary what do they call it? Big scary elephant in the room is permit costs, right? All contractors need permits to build, right? So they're going to have to pull permits and do all that before they even think about building your home. Okay. So, and you need a permit for each one of those things I just listed. You need a permit for, you just need a general building permit. You need an HVAC permit. You need a plumbing permit. You need an electrical permit. Okay. All those things cost at least $400. Okay. And up. Okay. $400 and up. So, and they can vary. They can vary depending on the area that you live in, the county that you live in. So you might, you need to refer to your local county's websites to find out what they are to get the exact numbers. But you got to budget for those because you don't want to put something up, right? And it's against code where you got to tear it down later because inspector comes and says, it's no good, right? It has happened to a lot of people. It's happened to a lot of people. Let's see here. Chantel says she likes metal roofing. Why do you like metal roofing, Chantel? I mean, isn't it kind of noisy when it rains and you got metal roofing? I would think so. Well, maybe it could be, maybe that's the reason you like it, because you like the sound of the water coming on, hitting the metal, puts you to sleep or something like that. Perry Good Life says engineering and pre-planning are expensive. Yes, absolutely. All of that. Sometimes we get excited about an idea until we crunch the numbers and find out what's really involved in it. Yeah. Chantel says it looks clean and sleek. Yeah. I agree with you on that one. Yeah, it does. Okay. All right. So where were we here? So yeah. So those are the basic, some of the basic things you got to think about when it comes to just building the house from from the ground up. But then after that, then you got all the discretionary things, right? Like interiors, right? The interior design costs, things like that, right? A good interior designer ain't cheap. I tell you that, especially if they've been doing it a while. They got a name behind themselves, and you could expect to spend no less than $6,000. Maybe a little bit. I'd say no less than $5,000 on an interior designer. Okay, a good interior designer, and they're the ones that are gonna put things in the right place, right? Furniture, rugs, carpets, all that stuff like that. Picture frames, and based on your requirements, they'll their job, right? Their skill is to maximize all that stuff, maximize the use of space, right? Along with the design aspects, the aesthetics of everything, right? That's what an interior designer does, right? That's what they get paid for. So, these days interior designers can give you renderings, three-dimensional renderings on a computer, 3D images of how your home will look, even after it's done, right? So, I mean, before it's done, I'm sorry. And you could, that's the beauty of technology today, right? You can do all of that, right? But then you're going to have to buy all that stuff, right? You're going to have to buy the furniture, the electronics, the utensils, the bathroom stuff. You're going to have to buy everything, right? And that can cost you, if you're trying to get not the cheap stuff, it can cost you at least $20,000, right? Before you even pay and the interior designer to come in and design your space. Okay. All right. But there are options, people. There are options. Like I said, you can get construction loans, right? They got different types. They got construction to permanent loan. It says that loan covers both purchasing as well as home building costs. And once the construction is complete and you move into the house, the loan is converted to a conventional mortgage of 15 to 30 years. Okay. Then you can get a construction only loan, which is only meant for financing the home building. Okay. Not necessarily purchasing. And, like it doesn't cover the land purchase or anything like that. It's just the building portion. You can get that. So maybe you have enough just for the land, to buy the land, but you don't have enough to actually build a home, you can get that one, right? And once again, the previous one, if you don't have enough for any, you can get both. You just be paying a hell of a lot more. Okay, so the thing about construction only loans, though, is that after the home is ready, they're going to call the loan. They're going to call the total amount of loan due, right? So you got to pay everything. So either you cover that amount, or you take out a mortgage. Okay. Then, of course, if you got money like that, you can buy the house cash. That's another option. If you all this doesn't matter. All these numbers I'm throwing out doesn't matter if you got if you're if you're doing that well. But you can also get a personal loan. You can get a home equity loan as well. Home equity loans are, if you already have a property and, you want to finance the construction for a new property, right? And depending on how much equity you owe on the existing home that you got, you can finance the entire construction of your new home, okay? Or at least a part of it, right? So, those are your options. Okay, so do you want to buy or do you want to build? Once again, I threw out all these numbers just now, and it comes down to personal preference, man. If somebody wants to buy a Ferrari or whatever, because that's what they like and they really want it, they're not thinking about really thinking about the numbers. They're going to do what they have to do to get it, right? So it all depends on the individual at the end of the day, whether you want to, you can't necessarily budget your life away. I get it. You want to. You at some point you want to just get what you want, right? Without having to think about all that stuff. The problem is when that's how you think in all the time, which is not healthy as well, because you could end up losing your stuff just like a lot of people did in 2008. So yeah, find out where you live, and if you're thinking about building a home, because you can build it exactly the way you want it. There's, you can put whatever you want in it. You can put a Batman cave underneath in the ground or something like that, or a helicopter pad on the roof or whatever. Yeah, you can do all that, but there's a cost to it versus just buying a home, right? Okay, let's see. Who's this? Who's in the chat here? Cheesy Grits. Hey, that's a name. What's happening, Cheesy Grits? Says Vons and Inglewood. You probably don't remember. Thanks for your knowledge. Hey, no problem. Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm always bumping into folks out there, my people. Trying to impart some kind of knowledge. Hopefully, Cheesy Grits. When I did speak to you that day, I said something constructive. Obviously, I gave you my information. That's why you're here, and I'm glad to see you, man. Chantel said, "What are your thoughts on solar panels?" Well, I used to install solar panels, Chantel. The great thing about solar panels is that the initial cost to install them may be very high, but in the long run, when you look at the big picture here, it's saving you so much money, right? So solar panels are great. If you live in an area where it's a lot of sunlight, like Southern California, or in Southern Florida or something like that, I would think it would be a good investment, right? I enjoyed installing them. I enjoy learning about how they work. I think I'm going to do a video on how solar panels work. It's very interesting, by the way, how sunlight can actually produce electricity, right? And when you think about it, sunlight is actually electricity itself, a different form of it. Yeah, but that's another topic. But yeah, I think it's a good investment, Chantel, if you have the money, and if you're, I'm sure they have payment plans and you can finance it over time. You got to pay it off and all that stuff. But if you plan on staying in a home for a long period of time, that's your home, right? Or even if you have an income property, okay, and the goal is to save money, then why not, right? Reap the benefits of it. Do more research into the pros and cons of it. Like I said, I'll probably dive deeper into that when I create a video on it. But yeah, I used to install those things, You know, I had good memories of installing them. You know, long run, you can save a lot of money with them, I'll tell you. Let's see. Chantel said to Cheesy Grits, I was at Vaughn's that the other day. Solar panels can be effective. Perry Life Note says, yes, they can. Yes, they can. All right, I got all my LA people in the chat. I appreciate y'all. You know, I'm had this channel for a while, and I don't usually get a lot of people in the lives, but it's all good. I'm putting out the info anyway and representing. You know what I mean? So yeah, ownership. At the end of the day, guys, it's all about ownership, right? Renting, but you know, renting. Let's not knock renting either, right? It depends, right? Like right now, housing prices are pretty high right now. Okay, the feds are trying to curtail. They're trying to curtail the inflationary effects in the housing market by raising interest rates. And that's what they do. They play games. You know, they play games with these rates and stuff. But what a lot of realtors are doing, which I don't think is good, is like they're a lot of realtors are giving you lower interest rates anyway, but they're not lowering the price of the home. They're just lowering those rates to get you in, right? And so that they have their ways of doing things to still get their money, even in a market like this. So you got to be careful. So sometimes it's better just to wait till rates come down, you know, the real interest rates come down, instead of falling for some of these tricks that some of these builders and realtors use just to get you in the house, because they got so much inventory, right, that they want to get rid of, and they're money hungry, and they'll do anything to get you in them. It's kind of like 2008 when they tricked a lot of people into, and I'm not going to place the blame totally on them. If you knew you couldn't handle that house payment and you bought it anyway, it's your fault too, right, that you ended up in that situation. But you know, sometimes it's just best to wait till they come down on their own. According to what I was looking at not too long ago, it said maybe beginning in 2024, mid 2024, maybe up to 2025, the rates are going to come down to a decent level where, you know, you can go ahead and get into a home, buy one. But remember that, though, if you want to build one, I just listed all the pros and cons of building one, right? Me personally, I wouldn't mind getting. I like using my hands anyway, and getting in there and getting dirty and building something from the ground up. Because you can build it how you want it, right? And it's yours, right? You know, so. But is it really? You got to pay taxes on them, right? Every year. Is it really yours when you think about it? Yeah. So. All right, guys. I hope you got something from this. There's a lot more you can do the research on it yourself. You can do a deeper dive into it and decide what you want to do. If you got the funds like that to invest in building your own home, I say go for it, man. Why not? Because you can build it how you want it. You can build it where you want it. Let me back up there. Maybe not everywhere you want it, right? But you know, you definitely have more leeway when it comes to that. Okay. So anyway, guys, thanks for stopping in. Chantel, Perry Go Life Notes, Cheesy Grits. Thanks for seeing you, big brother. And you guys take care. Please like and subscribe. Go check out Calibrate.com. And see you on the next live. Have a good one, guys.